You're listening to the Hope Revealed Podcast Network with your host, Matt Crum. The Hope Revealed Podcast Network is home to shows like Hope Revealed, God's Got This Stories, Fight School with co-host and Emmy Award-winning director Bill Nolan. On Clubhouse, the new international room called Let's Get Naked and Cancer FU, Fighters United, or his LinkedIn show called Matt Chat Live. Every episode of every show is designed to give you inspiration, motivation, hope, and the tools you need to navigate life successfully at home, business, or career. So now, your host, coach, consultant, and purveyor of hope, Matt Crum.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Matt Chat Live, and we're actually doing a Hope Revealed episode today. I'm super excited for our special guest, Miss Teri Healy. She'll be here with us in just a few moments, and it's going to be an incredible moment. I've had a lot of opportunities to have people engage with today's show over the past couple of days, and I surely hope you have a chance to tune in. If you're driving around and you just got it listening in your ears, make sure you stay tuned. It's going to be really good stuff, right? So it's going to be some really good life-changing things. We've got a lot of great things happening here today. Of course, coming up in 2 hours is our show in Clubhouse called Let's Get Naked. That runs every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, and that's 4 p.m. Pacific. And that is 9 o'clock in the morning for all of our friends out there in Australia with one of our great co-hosts, actually a couple of them from Australia that join us in the morning there. And my great friend Adrian, who is one of our moderators as well. He's in the UK. His start time's midnight when he's on Let's Get Naked. I'm saying he's the most committed of everybody. Midnight. He's on like from midnight till 3 in the morning with us. His time. Holy smokes. Anyway, he's a great guy. You're going to love hanging out tonight on our show. Tonight specifically, today is what is today? Today's the 16th of June. Good grief, y'all. It's half of June and half of the year gone. Is that crazy or what? 2021, half of the year is gone. Man alive, that's wild. So tonight we're going to be talking about success, but we're going to be talking about some of the things that you might shy away from that are areas of success for you, like some of the things that you actually do to accomplish success in your life, but sometimes you don't really live into what those things might be, or you're fearful of doing them, or you're not confident about it or something. We're going to really dig into some of that a bit more tonight. So check in with us on Let's Get Naked at Clubhouse at 7 p.m. If you're on LinkedIn, which y'all should be anyway, you can join us at the event page on LinkedIn for Let's Get Naked. And the link is there for Clubhouse now for Android and iPhone. So we got some Android users that are popping into Clubhouse now. It's been a blast. So you'll have a good time. We got a great group of moderators, and it's always an impressive time. So what the difference between Matt Chat Live specifically on those shows you guys have been watching and our other show called Hope Revealed? In Hope Revealed, we really get to dig into a story a bit more. And typically in Hope Revealed, it started really with my stories with God's Got This and cancer and all the people that I've had to deal with in my life, not had to, but got to deal with, that have been terminally ill. And most all of the people that were on the show with me are no longer here. They've all gone on, but they were able to share something on the show with people, specifically their families, that they wanted them to carry out for the rest of their lives on this planet. It was an honor to be able to do those shows. So inside of that experience of Hope Revealed, we have moments that may have been dark moments in our lives. We all have experienced some kind of a dark moment. And some of us, we can overcome and adapt, and we can find this hope revealed and move on in life. And sometimes in other people's cases, they can't. I have one person specifically in my life I know of that had a really hard time, really hard struggle with a very bad trauma in his life. And he was never able to overcome it until his dying day. And it broke my heart, but he was a great man. He just never could overcome some of the obstacles. And I'm just telling you, there's hope. There is hope. You just have to be willing to let go and trust somebody, right? So you're going to find a little bit about that tonight through Teri's story. And we got a lot of other stuff coming up this week too. So I just want to jump into some of that now. We do have a couple of sponsors on the show tonight. My great friend Chris Webb over there on the West Coast. He is in Canada, and he has a company called MF Consulting. Before we get things knocked off, let's hear a little bit about that with Chris. So that's MF Consulting, my friend Chris Webb. He has a phenomenal company, incredible guy. He's an awesome wife, and he really is passionate about helping to take care of your business. And he just really wants to be as raw and real about it as possible. And I love that. I love it. Now, I don't always love it because it sucks sometimes, right? But it's really cool to be transparent and to be real about things that you want to do in your life and help other people in business and careers as well. So we'll hear from my friend Danny from Encapsulator.io in just a little bit. But I'm super, super happy to have a special guest here today, and her name is Teri. So we're going to hear from her in just a moment. All right, Teri, welcome to Hope Revealed and Matt Chat Live. I'm glad you could be here with us today.
This is exciting. Matt, thanks
so much. It is exciting.
Yeah.
So, Teri, where are you calling in from today?
I am in Northwest Indiana, about 45 minutes from Chicago.
Wow. Is it windy there?
Only when I cross the border.
Yeah, that's right. I think Gary, Indiana used to be a really cool place to go to. Gary, Indiana, right? But I think you were telling me the other day, Gary, Indiana is not exactly such a friendly place anymore. Huh?
No, a lot of decades of corruption there, unfortunately. So it's probably one of our most challenged areas of the state, but gave me some really good ground to get some training. Actually, that's where I kind of started speaking and honing my craft and getting my messaging down. Was a lot.
If you could speak in Gary, Indiana, you can speak anywhere, huh?
Absolutely. Not a crowd that's welcoming. I could just put it like, what?
That is wild. Yeah, I would never think about it because it makes you feel so happy, and you think about the 50s, right, and all that kind of area. But now, time changes a lot of things, doesn't it? That's a bummer. That's a bummer. What a sucky thing to have to happen. But you've got quite an amazing story. We've had a great chance to get to know each other a little bit, and your story starts back when you were very young. Before we dive into all that and we back up, let's start kind of where we're at. So tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do right now, and how you're out there to help serve people in the world.
Well, right now I just actually launched a new program that I developed. You know how you feel when you accomplish something really great and you're still left with that feeling of that it's not enough. Something's missing. It's because we're taught to chase the outer wins. That's what I call them. More money, more education, younger body, slimmer body, whatever that is. But that only takes you so far. So I created a program that I launched with my coaching clients called 8.5 Minutes, where you can spend 8.5 minutes a day and start transforming your life and actually accessing what I call your inner wins. And just kind of imagine what your life would be like if you knew you were extraordinary from the inside out.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people would love that. It's like, man, 8.5 minutes a day. Yeah. I mean, I don't have to do my 15-minute meditation and my 20-minute this and doing 8.5 minutes. Yes. Then people would be like, man, I love your program, Teri. Can you bring it down to like 4.5 minutes?
I promise you transformation, Matt.
Yeah, you might get you got to be all in, right?
Absolutely.
So you've been able to do some speaking now, and I guess you cut your teeth in Gary, Indiana, or somebody tried to cut yours, one of the two. I'm not sure how that worked out, but and now you've been able to do some traveling and speak into different places, and you specifically speak into what area?
Usually my audience resonates. My audience of women is my most resonant. That's usually who is looking for life transformation. Unfortunately, it's kind of how we're wired, but that's where I find myself is in those groups.
What's the most common type of transformation people are looking for?
I think that people think that their transformation again is external. Like they think that if they have more money, if they choose different partners in life, if their kids behave differently, that their life will be content. And unfortunately, it's kind of backward. It's all the inner work first that then allows you to bring in those kind of things in your life and attract those sort of things.
Yeah, there's no doubt. It's tough pill to swallow for some, because that's really what I mean. We live in such a society, in such an age and time where everything is so external, right? Everything just seems to be like so much prevalence is placed on these things, but that's not really where it's supposed to be. And that's been around for a long time, and we kind of lost our way, I guess, as humans. And it seems that it's now starting to come back again to some folks that are being able to speak life into the lives of others like you. But it wasn't always awesome and easy, and speaking in Gary, Indiana, and having women to come around and hang out with you and learn great stuff about transformation. You had a difficult life and situation that started back right when you were a child, didn't it?
Yeah, it certainly did.
Can you tell us about that?
Sure, yeah. My history is one of some profound abuse. And the pinnacle of it was when I was 12, I was actually abandoned in a trailer home. And I was left there without any adult present. Utilities, sometimes we were on, sometimes they weren't. Very rarely did I have hot water. I remember that particularly. And there just wasn't enough food there. There was nothing there for me to survive. And remember particularly a day that I went, took a walk to the grocery store because I was very, very hungry, about a mile away, and a little bit of change in my pocket, and it wasn't enough money to buy anything. So I had stolen a package of hot dogs on that day. And I got outside of the store, and I was just consumed with guilt. And I didn't go back in and return the hot dogs, but I knew in that moment that I could never do something like that again. So I just made a resolve that I would find other ways to survive and to manage. And there were, I was right at that age of like babysitting, like it was a good babysitting age for me. So there was a couple of different families in that trailer park that I'd lived in that were, would hire me to watch their kids. And so that's what I would do, go for 3-4 hours and watch people's kids. And there was a night in particular that the mom didn't come home to pay me and send me home, but the dad had come home from work early. And he told me that he had the money for the babysitting, but he also said that he had a little bit of extra money if I wanted it. And I did want it. And the reality was I needed it. It wasn't, so for some nicety, it was for me to survive. And I knew what he was talking about. Those sort of things had happened to me for many, many years. And so he took me into a back bedroom, and I dropped to my knees and left with the money. And what he did was he told other men that lived in that trailer park. So what happened is that I just started going from trailer to trailer to trailer, and I would get the money that I needed to buy some food, maybe get a utility cut back on, just to survive. So, and in some way it's very strange, but that was easier for me than stealing those hot dogs, and when I was really young, I'd gone to church, I had family members that used to pick me up every Sunday and take me to church. So I did get some foundation put there. And I think that's why that was bothering me so much. But something that was real significant for me was there was a night that we had a really bad storm. And if you've ever lived in a trailer, it's like a really thin tin can. All the sounds are magnified, right?
Right.
So there was this night, and it was a horrible storm. And I remember being afraid. And I hadn't felt that feeling in a long time. Because in my world, there was no room for fear. No entertainment of that. So it scared me, and I had to shut it down. And then right from that thought, I went into a decision that there was no God, that I couldn't reconcile at age 13 at that time how the God that I understood him to be could have allowed everything that had happened to me
Yeah.
and to that point and what I was living in. So I
And
just
you'd gone
thought,
almost a year at that point of this trailer to trailer kind of lifestyle at that point.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I was surviving. So I made that conscious decision that God didn't exist. And I honestly, really, Matt, I couldn't say the word God till I was 47. And that was a long time of being really angry. So right after that thought, it was like I had heard this voice in my head. And because I had just unplugged spiritually, it wasn't God to me, but there was no one else in that trailer. It was just me. And it was like this voice outside of me. And the voice said, just get through this. Just need you to survive this because you've come through everything. I needed you to go through everything because you're here to touch hundreds of thousands of lives. And in order to do that, you needed all of this. So I didn't tell anybody about that. I just kept that to myself till again to my 40s. I didn't tell anybody. But that it didn't explain things to me. It didn't justify things to me, but it did give me like a reason. Like there's a purpose to this, and it actually changed the whole momentum for when I was taken out of that trailer. It was 3 years later. Then I was 15 years old.
How did that occur? What happened? Like, I mean, you're talking, Terry, 3 years of a kid, no social services showing up, no
No.
nothing. Just how did you pay the bill? How did you walk to a place to pay the bill in person and say, "Mom told me to bring the money," or how'd that work?
You could make utility payments at the local grocery store. So that's how I would go in and get the lights back on, for the most part, because it was really scary to me. Or it was, I guess not scary, but it was uncomfortable to live without any lights. So when you lose power and you get that little bit of anxiety, I lived like that quite a bit. So yeah, that was how I cut it on. But really, what had happened was there was like a really bad storm again in the area. It was like a blizzard, like a national disaster almost in our state. And there was a woman that had been calling social services and telling them there's no adult there. There's no adult there. And she had seen me and been around me. She knew that I didn't smell good. My clothes weren't clean. My body wasn't clean. And that I was hungry. She knew that. So for some reason during this particular storm, because it was an emergency situation, that's how the authorities actually came. And I remember particularly being afraid to fall asleep in the middle of the storm because I didn't have heat, I didn't have electricity. And I remember being kind of a little slap happy, but I remember the sound of them chiseling through the ice to open the door and pull me out.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I mean, what happened then? That's 15 years old now, and you're transitioning from this trailer park to a foster care system of some sort, right?
No, it wasn't into foster care. It turned out that one of my parents actually still lived in the same town. And so they located that parent and I was brought to that home.
Oh, man.
Oh, man, is right. Oh, yeah, because, that was quite an upheaval and very
challenging now. And you're sassy and, you're not a little kid anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've been through too much, unfortunately, for anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a lot of anger inside of me back then. So.
It's so horrible, Terry. So, well, what next? That's 15. You got, were you in school from 12 to 15?
Yeah, I was. And I did go to school because I could eat when I went to school because I had figured out how to sign the paperwork to get free breakfast and free lunch. So for those years that I was in that trailer, I got to eat twice a day on a school day. And so I went to school for sure.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll tell you another story about school if you're up for it.
Okay, let's do it, girl. This is amazing.
Okay, so this was like this was right after I had gotten out of the trailer. So I'm still 15. I'm in the 9th grade. So I was sitting in class and the guidance counselor sent a note. He wanted me to come in to talk to him. So I left the class, went to his office, and he sat down, with me, and he said, "What are you doing here?" And I thought, when they called me in, I don't know what I'm doing here. And he said, he goes, "You know what? I don't know." He goes, why are you going to school? And my thought was, so I could eat, but I couldn't tell him that because the way that I was taught was you don't tell, whatever it is that we were going through, we didn't talk about it. So I didn't answer. And he continued and he said, he goes, I got to tell you, he said, do you know you're failing all the classes in 9th grade, like, except for the orchestra, And I thought, well, that could very well be. I didn't know that, made sense though, because I love the orchestra. But he said, he goes, I got to tell you, he said, I'm real confused. He said, because you're pretty smart. And immediately, so this is my training, right? I thought, well, when a man said something flattering to me, he had a motive. So my head started going, what do I have to do to get out of this office and get back to class? So I was already problem solving, right? So he goes on and he says, I want to show you something. He pulled some papers out of my file and he said, he goes, these are like the results of the placement tests that we took back in the fall. And he said, he explained to me what percentiles were, when they rank you. And he said, out of 100 kids your age, he said, you're like 95th in math and you're 98th smartest in English. So he said, I got to know, why are we talking about you failing 9th grade? We should be talking about where you're going to go to college. And I thought, college? I never in my life thought about going to college. I never thought about graduating high school. My world was day-to-day survival. That's all I thought about. So he gave me copies of the papers, which was critical, because if he had not done that, I would have walked out of that office and talked myself out of that whole conversation. I would have rewritten it in my head, right? It was too much of a spin for me.
Yeah.
But what happened was, as I was walking back to class, it dawned on me that I believed something about myself that I didn't know that I believed. And what I didn't know is that up until that minute of time with him, I believed that I was what we used to call mentally retarded. We don't call it that anymore. It's not politically correct, but that was the terms we used 40 years ago.
Right.
And I'm not, Matt. I'm not a mentally retarded woman, but that was what I believed I was and who I was. So that changed my world on a dime. So I'd just gotten out of that trailer. Then I had that experience with that guidance counselor, and the world opened up for me. Possibilities that I never thought I could have were revealed to me. So that was a very pivotal moment. And I use that story now when I take stages or do coaching work to say that, so many times we walk around with things that we believe about ourselves and we don't know what those are. It's like a subconscious thing. So if you go about the business of digging them out, then you can figure out what you're going to do about it, right? So you dig out this belief you've got about yourself, and now you've got your power, right? And you can say, well, you know what? I like that belief. That belief has kept me safe. It's let me get as far as I've gotten, and I'm going to keep it. Keep it. It's your belief, right?
Yeah.
Or you could say that belief has held me back. It hasn't served me. And then you go about the business of how to retrain yourself to let go of that belief.
Right.
Or you could do a hybrid. You could keep the parts that serve you and let go of the parts that don't. And that's common too in the work I do with people. But so many of us walk around with that stuff, and I think that hinders a lot of people. It handicaps a lot of people. As it did for me.
In your life there at 15, at 9th grade, all these things started occurring. And that's not even all the story. There's even more. I mean, we've got twice as much to go. So I want to share with some folks some things that really, there's some moments here that have already been shining some light into the darkness, because obviously we're on this side of looking back to it right now, but there's more. And I want to dig into that in just a second if we can, but I want to go just a moment to break away here for our little spot here with my friend Danny from Encapsulator. And we'll come back and hear what that part is from this next side of your life. It's pretty ways. And you still had some way to go, didn't you? Way Absolutely. To go. We'll talk about that in a second, coming right up after we hear from Encapsulator.io. So we're with Teri Healy today here on Hope Revealed. And if you have been tuning in so far, it has been just, oh, well, Teri, to be sure, this is going to be a television movie or some kind of a movie thing, right? Your life could definitely be this. It's almost unbelievable, just really almost unbelievable. I know it's not, but because it's true, but my goodness. And we're not even, we're at 15 years old right now. You still got to go from 15 to 47. So I know that there were a lot of difficult things. Oh, before I do that, I got to finish about Danny with Encapsulator, because that was a great segue, right? So Encapsulator.io is a great company, because what they're able to do is they have video time vaults. And in this video time vaults, you're able to take a moment in your life or a place or space in life, just like when old people like me, I won't say us, because it's not, I'm an old guy. Okay. So back in the day when I was in school in the 70s, we would do these little time vaults, and we'd put all kinds of little items that we would have as kids or whatever, and put them in these metal containers, and they'd get buried outside for the school somewhere. They'd concrete over top of it and put a statue or something. And then like 30 or 40 years later, they would dig it up. Gosh, I wish I was at those places where they dug those things up. I've always wanted to know what it was like, but we did these time vaults. Well, Danny created a business with Encapsulator that you can actually do this with video. And you record certain videos about a certain thing, a certain space and time. Danny was a heroin addict. He was a drug addict. And he was able to make a video of himself one time and went back and saw himself prior to the treatment that he had received when he got healed. And the place from each of those spots in his life was so mind-blowing to him that it really created this opportunity for him to create this business that he had with Encapsulator. And it's being used for businesses now. There's psychologists that are using things like this for team building and different therapies and things of that nature. But there's so many great things you can do with Encapsulator, and seal something in the vault and say you want to open up a year from now or 3 years from now. Maybe you want to have a 3-year goal, and you say you can't open it for 3 years. And at the end of 3 years, you got to wait. And you see, did I really make all the things I said I was going to do? What did I do better? Or did I end up do good? Whatever. It's a great company. Just go to encapsulator.io, and you can set up your own account right there now. It's a fantastic thing. I've got one. It's pretty fun. Can't wait to open my vault here soon and see what I did about a year or two ago. So let's go back into, we're at high school, and this teacher is saying things to you, and you're thinking, this guy is probably trying to come on to me because he's being a little bit too nice. And I think I know what he wants me to do right now. But surprise, he really thought something special about you. He thought that you had some abilities that you didn't even know you had. And he started to talk to you about things that could look better for your life, that there's opportunity ahead of you, that you had the ability to achieve things that you didn't ever think were possible. And this starts getting introduced to you in the 9th grade. So let's start at 9th grade and fast forward a little bit. Where are we at on this trail now? Because you had already said, okay, I'm done. How could there be a God with all this kind of stuff going on in my life? And still at this point, all these little things are happening. There's still no God, because God would not let me do this or go through this. There was still that relationship, that hate relationship, not necessarily love-hate, right? So where are we at now in the story, Teri?
Well, it's interesting because, what's difficult, I think, is that when people meet us on the other side of this, like if you met me today somewhere over a cup of coffee, you would never imagine that I came from what I came from. So what you have to remember is that because I got that message, because I got that night, that messaging, that I had a reason to find healing. Like I knew when I came out of that trailer, I had work to do. I was here for something bigger than myself. It wasn't about myself, and that I had to get myself ready for that. And so I was just telling somebody, and I said, it wasn't like I came out of that trailer and I got dressed for the prom. It just wasn't my reality.
They would say, take a shower, right? You said that you were not
right.
Smelling good. Clothes probably hadn't been washed, and right? Yeah.
No, that's sour. There's a sourness when people don't have access to things like that. But so I've been through quite a bit of counseling. I've been very fortunate that way. I found an incredible mentor about 10 years ago. Interestingly enough, isn't that funny? That was right about when I got reconnected spiritually. She's a licensed or an ordained minister herself. So she's helped me get all, back in sync with where I need to be in that conversation for myself. But it has been a work. It has been work. I mean, you just don't, come out of that kind of thing and not and expect that you're going to live life normally. You've got some healing to do. But what's really, really neat though, Matt, is like I look at everything. There's a gift. There's a gift in everything, and I know sometimes that's really challenging. But kind of one of the things that I know is that because I have come through what I've come through, because of those experiences, I have an unspoken and profound compassion for other people. And I also have a gift of being immediately connectable with just about everybody. So can I share another story with you?
Are you kidding me? No, we're going to shut the show down now. Of course, girl. Go ahead. It's amazing.
Great story. This is a great story. So backtrack. So I get out of the trailer and I'm thinking, I always saw myself on a stage. I don't know why. I just kept thinking I'm supposed to speak to people. So as I would go through different decades of my life, the audience that I would get that visual around would keep changing and evolving, etc. So when I knew that I needed to do something with that, I wasn't a professional speaker, but I made myself available to go speak in Gary, Indiana, at the battered women's shelters. Mm-hmm, right? That runs with me, and that stands for until I love that movie.
I do too.
But so I'd go into the homeless shelters there, and I knew that if I could work with people in their darkest times, and I could create some sort of shift or open possibility, or at least help them access hope for themselves, that I could go take that show anywhere, right? I could do it anywhere if I could do it with that audience. So one of the places I landed was there was an organization that was providing court-mandated parenting classes for people that were snagged by the city of Gary because their kids were truant, curfew violations, things like that, like low-level infractions. So it was a 10-week class, and if the parents came every week on time and they showed up, they got to get to the 10th week, the graduation, and there I was as this speaker for them. So I would walk into these rooms every 10th week, and then these people would be like, wait a second, who is this woman and what she thinks she's going to tell me about my life, and there was a lot of hostility in these rooms. I remember going, oh my goodness. I didn't match the demographic, and I didn't look like I came from or had an understanding of them. Long story short, once I start speaking, people are immediately connected to me. It's just a really wonderful gift that I've gotten. So the last time that I was in there was a woman there, and she waited until everybody cleared out of the room, and it was just me and her, and I was putting my things together to go. And she came up to me and she said, "Do you remember me?" And I said, "Boy, gosh, I'm sorry, I don't. Where did I meet you?" And she said, "Well, I was here a few months ago and I heard you speak." So I thought, oh my goodness, she got snagged again. Kids weren't going to school or something like that, and she had to go back to the class. And so she says, I got through the class and I went with my certificate to the judge and I told him I wanted to take the class again. And he thought I was being funny, and she says, "No." She says, "Your Honor, there's this woman named Miss Teri and I want to hear her speak again." And he said, "All right, it's that important." He signed the papers. There she gets another 10-week run with the parenting classes. And she starts again. I found out in hindsight, she had no transportation. It's very common out there. So she was walking back and forth almost 2 miles each of the 9 classes to get permission to get to the 10th class and get my talk. And she said, "I don't even remember what you talked about last time." She said, "But what I knew was, a couple days after I heard you, I realized that all I was ever doing was screaming at my kids." And she said, "Miss Teri, I stopped hollering." And she said, "Can I show you my kids?" And I said, "Yeah, you can." And so she pulls her phone out and she shows me this little girl, 7, 8 years old, and she says, "This is my girl." And it was always on her, the mess she's making with her markers and her crayons and her books, and just a mess. And she says, "When I stopped screaming," she says, "Teri, my girl's an artist." And she said, "Let me show you my boy." And she shows me like this boy, 14, 15 years old. And she says, "Mom and I were realizing he's really smart in math, and we're thinking he's going to be the first one in the family to get a high school diploma." So I thanked her for letting me see her kids, and I got into my car and I just sobbed. I was in a place where it wouldn't have been proper for me to hug her or thank her for that gift, but I got in the car and I got it, man, right? The light went on. Like I spoke 3-4 months ago on shame. That was the topic. That day, that woman's life changed. Her children's lives forever. They changed.
Yeah.
Who they couple up with, how they do that, it's changed. How they raise their own, if they have their own, that's forever changed. I saw the whole thing, and it was like God speaking to me then, saying, "Okay, wait a second. It's time to make this a profession. This is what you need to be doing. Get that show and take it on the road." That was the moment that I knew I needed to stop doing other things to make a living, and I really needed to start focusing, and this is what needed to be
So
told.
Teri, what you're just saying is that at this moment, there was a hope revealed to you
And her.
and something that changed everything.
Yes,
Everything.
yes.
But you had a lot of little hopes all along the way, even when you didn't want them, even when you didn't want the name where they may have come from. But they were little ones all along the way, some bigger than those others, right? And then this moment that changes the trajectory, not just for your life, but because if you just said no, then you actually rob somebody else of an opportunity.
Absolutely.
But by saying yes, then little 12-year-old Teri gets to have a different life altogether. She's not in the trailer park alone anymore. Right. So that woman's daughter now has a mom. That boy now has a mom. Right. So you go back. I mean, it's been a complete change in everything. Right.
Yes.
How amazing is that? So what does that feel like, Teri? What does that feel like for 12-year-old Teri to stand there in a place like that when that woman shows you a picture of her child and her daughter and son? And what's that feel like for you?
I think that first thing that comes to me is profound gratitude. Because here's the thing, is I'm very clear and I'm so non-ego, but I'm very clear that and grateful that I was given what I was given so that I could do the work I had to do to be the vessel of that information. So, and the person to bring that hope forward to other people and that healing forward. So before I would go into that 10th week graduation ceremony, be their guest speaker, I used to sit in my car and pray. And I would say, you tell me, this is what I think I want to talk about today, but it's all up to you. And I was very clear that I would walk into that particular audience, and what I thought I was going to talk about was usually not it. But I would get with the people, get to talking, and all of a sudden it was like I just got almost like the messaging came through me. Did I think I was going to talk about shame that day? No. Shame was one of the last things I probably thought I was going to talk about. But that's what those people needed. That's what that woman in that chair and her children needed that day. So it's not even just my hope, man. It's everybody else's. And who I've become and the work I've done has allowed me for people to connect those dots, I am the luckiest. I'm so grateful to be who I am to be able to do that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Oh, totally makes sense. Absolutely. I know. I feel you. I mean,
weird wrinkle to it.
What a blessing, right? What a blessing. That's I talked to you yesterday. We were talking before the show, and Genesis 50:20 says that what evil, what the enemy, what the devil means for our destruction, God means for our good. And in many cases, how could what happened to a 12-year-old child who had to do what you said you had to do for 3 years? How's that good? Oh, it's not good, but it was an amazing opportunity for the 30-year-old, 35-year-old, 45-year-old, 47-year-old Teri to have been able to put all these pieces of the puzzle together, and what hope you thought you had lost and a relationship that you had that you lost has now come back in a way that it was never before. There's without any question in your life, you have a relationship with God now. And that was one of the first things that went out the window.
Well, tell you
Go ahead.
something real on the sensitive. So you could I'm going to tell you one thing so you get really, really clear of what I had to overcome and why it was so easy for me to unplug that night in the storm in the trailer is, one of the things that had happened to me before the trailer is I was molested by a cousin who was about 8 years older. And he was training to be a man of the cloth. So he was in school to be a minister. As he was molesting, he was quoting scripture.
Oh, God.
Oh yeah. So you want to talk about? I got a few things I got to work on, And
Yeah,
so
that's a big deal. That's horrible.
yeah,
Period. Well, he was psycho, first of all, but second, then to have
that
those
connection.
in an innocent child's mind now twisted, and then what truth and love is intended for you now becomes a weapon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And an association with something so profoundly ugly.
Yeah.
So it's just that's just like just some of the little things that like you just again I couldn't just get dressed for the prom. I had a lot of work to do. I've had a lot of work to do, but there is nothing like the feeling of when when someone is so gracious with you, like that woman who let me see those children. What a graciousness to her to give me that. She never had to come and tell me that she was dropping the ball and wasn't Mother of the Year. She never had to be vulnerable with me, but she was. That was a gift she gave me. So when people come back to me and they say, I just want you to know, you worked with me. I saw you a year ago. You worked with me 2 years ago, whatever. And they tell me what's happening now. It's not about me. Honestly, I'm just a vessel that has shined itself up, and I keep working on it to be what I need to be and who I need to be to do the work I'm here to do. It's just that. But what a grateful place to be. I get to be that vessel. Wow. And then just when you get that stuff, and when you're out there ministering, you're touching lives, you're impacting people, and so it makes me more conscious too of giving people that gift as well when they've had impact for my life and my journey, that as soon as I feel it, I make an effort to connect and deliver the communication. Email, text, pick up the phone, whatever it is. When I see them again, they need to know what they did to help where I'm going and what I'm up to.
Well, Teri, there's so many people of different backgrounds that are watching or listening to the show here in hashtag replay. They're watching the show or listening, and it could be December of 2021 right now. It could be the year 2024 right now. I don't know. Yeah. But at this exact moment, somebody has been set here to listen to this exact thing, whether it's their personal life, some of the things that you've experienced in your life, or maybe their career is in the toilet and they don't feel like they have any hope. They can't do anything. And there's so many things that they couldn't do. They don't think they can do. There's so many different parallels there in your life. And of course, even in some of mine. So to that person, that man or that woman that's listening right now and struggling with some of those areas to think like, forget it. There's just no sense in even trying anymore. This just isn't going to happen. And this is just as good as it gets. What would you say to that person right now, Teri?
What I would say is that I'd like for you to consider that you have value that you've not even acknowledged or you've seen, and that there's no one and nothing that can define your value. You were brought here to this world and this earth on this body with gifts that were given to you, and nothing and no one can alter that or change that. It's so easy to define who we are based on what's happening to us and the results of choices that we've made. But at the end of the day, nothing changes that. You are this incredible being that is just a gift. And then my encouragement would be, don't necessarily try not to get log jabbed and stuck in what you see around you, but instead make a decision and a prayer to have God show you and connect you back to the value that you are.
That's so good. Absolutely. We're fearfully and wonderfully made. And it's so hard for people to believe sometimes in life that we can be worth anything like that. But we're one of a kind masterpieces. And to understand that, to feel that is a big difference from what you felt, for example, at 12, or what I felt when I was 18, or when I was 30, or when I was different things I've experienced in my life. And what an amazing, amazing story, in the sense of, for me, it's so amazing because of who you are now, Teri. I don't sit here and try to glorify your past. I think it's a horrible scenario and a bad situation, but I also believe in redemption, and that you've been redeemed, and your heart has been changed, and you had an opportunity to say yes or no, and you said yes, and as a result, now you can do even more because of what's been done in you and through you for other people than you ever could have before. And now you get to touch people's lives around the world. Just here on a show we're talking right now, we got people all over the world listening right now, right? How amazing is that? Although that all sucked, but now the benefit of that is that somebody can see that there is another side. There's a way through. It's not easy. It's not fast, but it is possible. Wow. So I know that there's some places people can try to find you. I got, let me see, I'll pop this up over here. I have your cool little thing I downloaded earlier. Where's it at? Here we go. There we go. Boom. People can find you here on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn, right? So we're on LinkedIn, Facebook right now, and YouTube, and then on audio everywhere, Spotify and Amazon and Google and all those other places out there. But if you're just listening to us, I've got the picture up of Teri's profile page on LinkedIn, so you can reach her there. And she has a website as well. Of course, that'd be pretty easy to find out when you know what that is, because it's really hard. Teri Healy, that's her name. Teri Healy, Hely, for those that are listening. Teri, 1R1I, Healy.com. Teri Healy. So, Teri, tell us just a little bit here about what folks might see when they come visit you at your website.
Well, I wish it was a little bit more up to date. It's a little on the older side. So if
I'll
anyone's
talk to you about that later. I know it's a couple things too. But there's still great stuff there. There's great stuff there.
Yeah. It kind of focuses, like I did a radio show for a while. So that was kind of a really cool thing I did in my life, to touch other people and bring conversations forward that needed to come forward. But there is also a contact page there. My request, if I could put a request out there in the ethers for whenever somebody happens to be listening, is it's my commitment to touch 10 million lives now. That's where I've stated it now, and anything in any way that I can do that, to connect with an organization, be able to take a stage, however that looks like. I'm very, very flexible in the moment with it, but I would love the opportunity to just keep tentacling out and touching lives and touching lives. So
yeah, no doubt. And there's a way to reach you. Of course, you can go to our website, terihealy.com. For those that find her on LinkedIn, you're also on Facebook. So there's great ways to reach out to you and to be able to find out how folks might be able to get you to an event, or whether it's virtual or live, hopefully more lives as we go along here in time. I can't wait to get back with people. I like to be with people. I like to hug people and talk to people face to face. I miss that a lot. But that's coming back soon. Even up in Gary, Indiana. I want to go to Gary, Indiana and speak one day. I want to go there too. It'd be cool.
I'll take you.
I'm ready to go. You got to show me the ropes there, girl. I got to find out what's going on. Yeah, they got it right there. Well, it's been such a pleasure to have you here on Hope Revealed today, and to be able to show hope. I mean, you are a living example of hope. There's a little girl that could have given up. You could have been killed. You could have died and froze to death. There's so many things that could have happened. But you're alive, and you are alive for such a time as this. There's people there, like that woman that said that she wanted to come back through another 10-week course so she could see you again, talk to you again, show you the difference in her family now as a result of some of the things she's learned. Teri, and I know you feel this way, even if it was just for that woman, it probably would have been worth it all, right? Just to see that one woman's life and those kids, and now the legacy of that family changed forever by a little old gal from Indiana. It was pretty awesome. Wow. Thank you so much for being with us today, Teri. It's been such a blessing to have you here.
Thank you, Matt. I'm beyond grateful.
Yeah, we are too. So grateful. So Folks, don't forget that coming up tonight here, 7 p.m. Eastern, is Let's Get Naked. Tonight's show, we're talking about some of the things you might be afraid of in the area of imposter syndrome with success. Not like you're afraid of success, but some of the things you're afraid to do or admit to do, or that you've done to be successful, right? Sometimes maybe we think like we're not that good or not good enough, or people are going to think that, well, they're going to think I'm stuck up or I'm not good. Sometimes we can put so many things on ourselves that other people actually have been waiting for you to talk about or share how it's possible. And you're like all scared on the inside. We're going to talk about it tonight on Let's Get Naked. It's going to be good stuff. So come on and join us on Clubhouse at 7 o'clock tonight. And then, of course, Matt Chat Live and Hope Revealed is every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Lord willing, and the creek don't rise anyway. We'll be here every Friday, every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Yeah, that's an old one too. Sorry. I've been around for a little bit too. Man, I'm so excited. I'm so glad you're here. I'm glad we had a chance to do this together, Teri. And I know there's so many people that I talk to that will get a big blessing out of what your story is. And I surely hope, folks, you get a chance to engage with Teri and talk to her about speaking at your event. Clinics, workshops, virtual events, live events. She's ready to go speak to 10 million people right now. So let's do this thing. 10 million people sign up now. Wouldn't it be awesome? Boom!
You're amazing.
It'd be crazy. It'd be crazy. Amazing. Well, thanks again, folks. I'm looking forward to having you back here again the next time on the next episode of Matt Chat Live. We'll see you the next time.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode here on the Hope Revealed Podcast Network. If you'd like to find out more information about this episode or learning more about Matt's coaching or consulting services, resources, or booking information he has available, please visit mattcrump.tv. And thank you again for tuning in. And remember, in any dark place or any uncertain moment, right around the corner, there can always be a hope revealed.